What's up gamers, Duma here. Today I have for you the build I was playing during this last PvP event. I started with a much more slimmed down version and just kept raising the bar each day until we landed at a full-blown meta version of it. This thing's pretty nasty. Great burst and sustained damage, tons of survivability, and the thing that's fun about it is every single ability is also AoE damage, including your CC. So you can really blow up groups at times. I ran into several groups on stream and it legit looked like I bombed them. They all just exploded. And it's completely viable defensively to square up with most builds you'll run into in overworld. It's not really intended to be a dueling build, more so playing outnumbered, but you can throw hands a bit with most people you'll run into in Cyrodiil, and it's really solid for BGs. It's legitimately all AoE damage, and 8v8s are typically a balled up mess, so it really shines there as well. This is going to be a quick one here. No gameplay for this one. I'm kind of playing catch up here this week and don't have time to pick apart all the VODs, but I will be playing this one for sure more on stream if you want to see it live, and I also have the written guide up and available for you now over at the GAMEROOM.tv. Let's go. For this build, Imperial is definitely the move for the race, and base class of Warden is required for the class script CC. Especially with being a stage 3 vampire and using sugar skulls, it makes Imperial even more ideal here. If you aren't an Imperial, you can make it work just fine. You'll probably need to run bear haunch food instead though. Since we have low crit on the setup using torque and not running the typical crit and high crit damage setup, I doubled down with pin instead. So we have solid weapon damage and then lots of pin on top of it with the Lover Mundus. This will put you right at 17k pin after beetles with major and minor resolve on the target. Then when using sugar skulls and 31 health and 33 stamina, you'll be exactly at 32k HP. Side note on food here, if you're going to spam BGs for a while, use bear haunch here for the sustain, but sugar skulls is much better in overworld. Side note, you can also get away with stage 4 vamp on this build and Cyrodiil using sugar skulls, but I mostly ran it at stage 3. We're going to be using the torque mythic here for most of our stats on the build, which disables all of our other gear set bonuses, so you can use any gear set you like. We put it all together like this. I found 3 heavy reinforced and 4 medium impin to be the sweet spot between armor passives and resistances. Then I added 2 protective traits on the jewelry to make up for the lack of defensive strength in the meta class skill lines used for damage. This will put you just under 32k resist on the back bar and just over 28k resist on the front bar. Then we have Torque's extra 15% damage reduction on top of it. And we can get away with the protective trait on the 2 jewelry pieces rather than infuse due to the extra weapon damage provided by Torque. Double maces on the front bar, Nern and Sharpen with stamina escapist poisons, and then sword and board on the back bar with defending and stamina traits using Magicka escapist poisons. You can run an ice staff if you prefer. Both are totally viable. Sword and board back here work for me. I'm a bit spammy with my block casting of Healing Soul, and I really like the sword and board ulti here, which is more or less 7 seconds of immortality at a stupid cheap cost of only 138 ult on an Imperial. It's a great ult for diving and escaping. I think sword and board back bar is generally kind of slept on in today's game. I think a lot of people run staff because they see others do it, and there's a lot of instances where sword and board may be better if not using Elisus. There's other smaller benefits in the passives when comparing what you would get from ice staff, such as faster movement speed when blocking to help kite and get around corners, higher stam on the back bar, more resistances even when running a defending traded ice staff, or damage block from projectiles, higher weapon or spell damage for bigger heals, and access to a very good back bar ulti if needed. It's pretty solid. I'm not saying it's always better, it's obviously situational. Ice staff is probably better on a higher number of builds out there, and there are aspects of an ice staff that are better, but it depends on your build, your sustain, your ability to manage stamina, if you're using Elisus for breach, and then what type of effect back bar block casting will have on your build and playstyle. I know most of you know this already, but I just wanted to take a quick moment to run through it in case there was anyone learning out there. There's more options than just an ice staff for your back bar. Here's your CP. If you find yourself not needing focus mending here, Biting Aura will greatly increase your damage as almost everything is AoE. Here's your scribing ability scripts. There's one sort of flex spot here of putting Major Savagery here and then Camo Hunter can be replaced, but I don't recommend it. These sustain buffs are really impactful, and then Camo Hunter gives you more weapon and spell damage from Slayer, and then a baby stealth flare I've used quite a lot without having to swap potions on the fly for stealth targets. Especially with both major and minor expedition, you can really run down a lot of stealthing players without issues. And down here we're using Lover Mundus, Sugar Skulls, and Tripods. Here are your skills. I won't do a super deep dive on them like usual. The assumption is if you are playing a build like this, you generally know what's going on with your skills, but I'll share some of the basic combos I do most often offensively. And then I'll be streaming this as well for PvP until something changes, so please feel free to come ask any questions anytime if you need more info. When running up to a new target, I prep beetles and contingency, then jabs as I arrive, and all 3 land together. And then when 1 second is left on the second hit of beetles, I prep contingency again and ult. If I don't have ult, jabs. Imperial's sweep is only 77 ult here, so you'll have it constantly in your rotation. And between all of that, you just tunnel into them with jabs. You also don't need to contingency the second half of beetles if they're super low. Usually jabs from there will get it done along with your second beetles hit coming out, but it will make it more bursty with 1 global of downtime on the back end of beetles if they aren't very low. It's a little situational. You need to see what's working for you with who you're fighting. Some people will keep getting caught out by the extra burst windows. Some people will tread water perpetually after the first one and it's not needed. Some will shrug it all off. It's situational. You'll have to feel it out. You can also chop it up however you like. Contingency on the front end, the back, both. There's plus and minuses to each one depending on the situation, especially considering the warden CC from contingency. It may just be better for you to hold it for the back end depending on who you're fighting and line it up with maximum burst. If you're 1v1ing someone for a bit, then the initial part changes if adding contingency there. You have one extra global in there at the start to get more sustained damage before your first set of beetles fire. So rather than beetles contingency jabs, you'll squeeze in one more jabs before contingency. So it would be beetles jabs contingency jabs. That way you don't lose a global of spammable damage in there, which can be a big deal to not lose pressure. Or if you just want to sit on it for the back end of beetles with your ulti, you'll just save it for 1 second left of your beetles timer. Then you'll get your larger fissure hit, your ulti, and contingency along with the class CC all at the same time. And then from there, you can ride your extra ulti dot into whatever you feel you need to do. Back bar is kind of all the usual stuff here with soul and vigor, but I do want to add a little bit. There's a lot of really nasty setups popping up with dots. I would encourage you to cleanse more than you think you should if you're struggling and have the globals, and definitely make it happen if kiting. You have a cost-free purge using animal companions with Netch. Use it often. Cleansing dots not only takes off pressure, but it slows down other shenanigans on top of it like Marcelok and whatnot. And that's it, gamers. Nice and quick. I really enjoyed this one quite a lot. If you have any questions, please let me know. Come check out stream sometime as well if you like and say hello. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.